Japan is a fantastic place to visit with the family, but there are plenty of little things you need to know to help make your trip all the more enjoyable. In this series, I'm running through some of the most important tips I've picked up over the years. I've already tackled transport and accommodation, and now it's time to tuck into 10 tips for one of Japan's most spectacular assets. It's food. Itadakimasu. Japan has a ridiculous array of food that it does incredibly well. This obviously includes the full spectrum of Japanese cuisine, but it also extends to food from around the globe. To quote Mr. Baseball, the Tom Selleck classic,
Japan takes the best from all over the world and makes it her own.
This means that regardless of whether you want sushi or steak, you're in business.
This is good.
Kobe beef, fed with beer, massaged by hand.
Oh, should have signed up to be a cow here instead of a ball player.
That said, as far as I'm concerned, eating Japanese cuisine is one of the main draws of travelling to Japan. So if food is going to be a focus, it's a good idea to try and ensure the whole family is on the same page. This leads me to tip number 1. If your kids haven't eaten a lot of Japanese food, I'd recommend getting them started well ahead of the trip. Not only will this help acclimatise them to some of the staples of Japanese cuisine, but it will also give you a reliable baseline to fall back on without having to resort to the likes of Macca's. And if it means that you have to eat more Japanese food before the trip, well, that's just something you'll have to endure. Before our first family trip to Japan, for instance, my kid was already into udon, sushi, karaage chicken and tonkatsu, so that gave us a great starting point. And from there, it was only a short leap to eating things like ramen, onigiri, yakitori, yakiniku, gyoza, kushikatsu, okonomiyaki, shabu-shabu and Japanese curry, which isn't at all hot incidentally, unless you order it that way. Getting my son into Famichiki, the holy grail of fast food that will absolutely kill you but at least you'll die happy, wasn't a hard sell either. He's such a fan of Japanese food these days that he usually goes over with a wish list of things he wants to eat, and we check them off as we go along. You want an egg sando with a Famichiki inside? I guess sometimes 2 rights just make an even bigger right.
Good combo.
Yeah? Did you get some Famichiki? Amazing.
Let's move on to the next tip. If you're on a budget, and even if you're not, lunch specials are your friend. Lots of restaurants do these, offering up set meal choices that are both filling and excellent value. A lunch special will set the family up for the rest of the day, letting you potentially just have something light for dinner later on. Chain restaurants are a great fallback for family meals as they're reliable and consistent. Once you've been to yakitori chain Torikizoku once, for instance, you know the options they have, how much things cost, and how to order using their tablets. There are heaps of restaurant chains in Japan that you can lean on, from more focused options like Tonkatsu Mason, Ichiran, Sushiro and Yoshinoya, through to the broader menus of family restaurants like Gusto and Denny's. Many of the latter have menus with a mix of Western and Japanese food and tend to be extremely affordable too. Also, robots. If there's a particular type of cuisine you're after, do some Googling and see what chains are out there, as it might be the easiest option. Pubs aren't a staple part of life in Japan in the same way they are in most Western countries, but that's because Izakayas fill that role in their own inimitable way. Izakayas are informal bars that also have a variety of small dishes on the menu. They're fun places to go and can be a good choice if you need to cater to disparate tastes, as their menus typically encompass everything from karaage chicken, gyoza and yakitori, through to Western fare like French fries and occasionally dishes like pizza. Some will be more family friendly than others, but a good option is rarely far away. If you're not sure what you want to eat, a solid option is to head to the restaurant floors that are typically housed above department stores. They're great because there are heaps of restaurants to choose from, and you can simply walk around and see what's on offer. The plastic meal displays are a huge help in working out what different restaurants specialise in too. Not only are there usually restaurant floors above department stores, but there are often ridiculously vast arrays of food stalls in the basement levels too, so you can wander about and pick stuff up individually. You'll need to find somewhere to eat it, however. It's also worth pointing out that the standard of food in Japan is uniformly high, so if the kids are grumbling, you can pretty much pick any hole-in-the-wall restaurant and get something tasty. Even the most unassuming places will serve up a decent meal, so sometimes the lowest effort option will be just fine. Speaking of unassuming places, plenty of these will have vending machines out the front or just inside the door that you use to place and pay for your order. More modern machines will have touchscreens and the option to change the language to English, but even if you're using an old school one with physical buttons, there's no need to be intimidated, even if all the choices are in Japanese. For a start, Google Translate can give you a real-time idea of what the options are, as can the pictures if there are any, and if in doubt, the choice at the top left is generally the recommended one, or at least the most popular dish. The main things to bear in mind are that you'll almost always need cash to use these machines, and don't forget that you can also order things like extra toppings, side dishes and drinks. It's easy to get flustered and feel rushed when making your selections, particularly if there's a queue, but a few extra seconds to make sure you've got everything covered isn't a problem. Just place your order, press the change button if there is one, and hand the tickets to the staff when you see them. Convenience stores, aka Conbinis, are a surprisingly good option when it comes to food and drink. Not only are they everywhere, but they stock a wide range of fresh food that's replaced daily. From snacks like onigiri and sandwiches through to full meals, which can even be heated up on the spot. You can also get chips, chocolate, cup noodles, a wide array of drinks, and more. If your kids are picky eaters or have dietary restrictions for one reason or another, Conbinis can save a heap of hassle. Speaking of picky eaters, hotel breakfasts can be a bit on the funky side in Japan. And no, not the good kind of funk. I'm talking more about seemingly random selections of food that'll have you scratching your head as to how you're going to eke a satisfying breakfast out of the choices on offer. Obviously, bigger places and more upmarket hotels usually have quite wide selections, so chances are you'll all find something you want to eat at those. Smaller establishments, on the other hand, are much more of a dice roll. And even if the selection is good for a Japanese person, if your kids aren't used to eating rice, miso, pickles, cured fish and the like for breakfast, it may be a big swing and a miss. Personally, I generally opt to save the money and just grab food for everyone from the nearest konbini. If you have vegans or vegetarians with you, you'll need to do more research when deciding on restaurants. One useful tip is to ask your ryokan host or hotel concierge for recommendations. They'll be happy to make bookings for you too. Other than that, Google Translate or a similar app can help lower the language barrier, so whether you're browsing a menu in a restaurant or the aisles in a konbini, technology is your friend. Those are my primary pointers for painless family feasts in Japan, but before I wrap this thing up, I have 7 bonus tips related to food that I also think you should know. While families are welcome in most restaurants, some are definitely better suited to a family meal than others. If you see a standing ramen bar, for instance, the expectation is that you'll order and eat quickly, then be on your way. Anywhere with extremely limited seating that clearly wants to get customers through at speed is a bad choice if you have really young kids or if you just want to take a breath while eating a meal. Most restaurants will be able to rustle up a fork or a spoon if asked.
I see you've played knifey spoony before.
But if your kids are old enough, you may want to try and get them using chopsticks before you go over. You could also buy training chopsticks to bring with you, or a portable set of kids' utensils so you never need to ask. We always take games like Uno as well as colouring in books and activity books to help bridge long train journeys or waits in restaurants. Also as a futile attempt to reduce screen time at night. It rarely works, but hey, it's worth a shot. Need a high chair? You'll generally be able to get one in places like department store restaurants, family restaurants, and most chain restaurants. Smaller places like tiny izakaya or ramen shops that only have stools are unlikely to be able to hook you up, however. Just ask at the door. Konbinis in Japan are unbelievably useful for food, but they do have some blind spots in other areas. Need nappies? Or sunscreen? Or painkillers? While those items are sometimes available, it's far more likely that you'll need to go to a pharmacy or large supermarket. That said, one thing you can rely on is for konbinis to have rubbish bins. You pretty much won't see bins on the street, so if you want to get rid of rubbish or recycle a bottle, your best bet is to pop into a konbini. The bins are usually just inside the door. While there are konbini everywhere, Japanese people generally don't eat while moving around in public. If you're desperate, many konbini have eating areas, usually just a narrow table or two and seats, or you can stand outside the store and eat before moving on. It's also fine to stand by a vending machine if you want a drink. Eating and drinking on trains is generally a no-go too, with key exceptions like the Shinkansen, aka the Drinkansen. It can be fun to teach your kids a few basic Japanese words and phrases before you go over. And you should definitely have some vocab related to food in the mix, as it will most definitely come in handy. My suggestions? If you can get your kids saying oishi or oishikata and gochiso sama deshita as you leave a restaurant, you'll be star clientele. I hope this video has been helpful. Don't forget, I've also covered off getting around and accommodation in previous videos, so be sure to check those out. Please also like this video, subscribe to the channel, and keep your eye out for more tips and guides from the land of the rising yum.